Hey everyone, and welcome to my cozy self-care routine. And on weekend afternoons or in the evenings, I love spending time just to wind down and focus on some self-care where I can just reset my headspace. So starting off, what I like to do is begin by setting the mood. I'll light a candle, get a blanket out, and make a tea. Tea is something that I make on a daily basis year-round, but especially during the fall and winter, I love how much warmth it can bring. And at times like this, where I have a bit more time to prepare it, I love making a bit more of a decadent type of tea. On this occasion, I decided to make a s'mores chai latte. So I used the s'mores chai loose leaf tea and then put it in my French press so that I could steep it. Next, I got the water that I needed for my tea and put it in my electric kettle, and then I put the water on to boil. And then as a final touch, I poured some oat milk into my milk frother so that it would have that extra bit of foaminess. And after a few minutes, the water was ready, so I poured that into the French press. I love using a French press to make loose leaf tea because it's a really easy way of making multiple cups of tea at once. And it's also a great way of steeping it so that you're not getting any tea leaves into the tea itself. Once that had brewed for a few minutes, I poured it into my mug. I love using mugs from local potters that I find in North Carolina, so I just put it in one of those. And then once the oat milk was ready, I just poured that in as well. I love the combination of steamed milk and tea. It makes for a perfect latte. And then once I had the candle, blanket, and tea ready to go, I sat down to enjoy a good book. I love the way that reading can really just calm and relax you like few other things. There's something so cozy about watching the candles flame while reading, and I just love how a good book can really suck you into the story and really just help you get lost for a few hours. Right now I'm reading through Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. It's a really fun mystery novel, and I'd always heard great things about Agatha Christie but had never actually read one of her books myself. So when I found this copy at a local thrift store, I decided to pick it up, and it really has been a delightful read. But overall, reading is one of those things that whether it's done for a few minutes or for a few hours, it really can do so much just to calm and relax you. And usually I like to get through a couple chapters before putting my book down, but once I finished off with my tea, I decided to move on to something that would be a little bit more productive. Before getting into that though, I decided to make another fun drink. Homemade lemonade is something that I've really had a lot of fun making lately, and it's really easy to make. All I do is squeeze half of a lemon into a cup of ice, add in a tiny bit of homemade simple syrup, and then add water. It's much more healthy than a traditional lemonade and tastes delicious too. Definitely not something I do every day, and it's still a treat, but it's a fun one. And then I grabbed my bullet journal and made my way back to the couch. Once every month or so, I like to lay out my bullet journal for the following month and make sure that any plans that I have upcoming for the month are transferred into that. I use my bullet journal as a cross between a calendar, a planner, and just a general area for taking notes. So at the beginning of each month, I like to spend some time filling in my plans for the upcoming weeks. I'll start off by making a monthly overview where I can get a general snapshot of the month, and then I'll move on to making weekly spreads where I can put in some more day-to-day types of information. In my bullet journal, I'll also create areas for taking notes, setting goals, and things like that. And I love having everything in one place like that because it makes it so easy to know where to go for various pieces of information. So I'll set that up and transfer over any relevant pieces of information. But once that's finished, I always feel so much more prepared and ready for the next month. And then especially on beautiful fall days like the one we had here, I love going outdoors and getting some fresh air. The leaves are at their peak color change right now, and so it's just so beautiful outside. So I quickly put on my shoes and grabbed my keys, but then I went outside to enjoy nature. And there is something so peaceful and calming about getting outside think that we can often live in our own little box of our home, and so getting outside and just spending time outdoors really is so important. When I'm going on walks, I love just taking time to appreciate the small details of everything around me, whether that's a beautiful red leaf, the way the light streams through a tree, or the sound of rushing water. We're really lucky to live right off of a local greenway, and so even though we do live in the center of the city of Charlotte, it's really nice that we can just come out to this beautiful area and escape for a bit. And typically when I go out on a walk, I'll be gone for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, just depending on how I'm feeling. But when I got back on this day, I was feeling like a bit of a snack, so I decided to make something that's been a big favorite for me recently and make some chocolate chip pumpkin muffins. And often I like to bake things from scratch, but on this day I was feeling a little bit lazy, so I decided to use the pumpkin muffin baking mix from Trader Joe's and mix in some oil and water and then add chocolate chips. While making muffins from scratch is really fun, and I actually do it quite often, if you're ever in a rush or simply if you're just not wanting to make a big mess, this is a really easy and quick to make mix that tastes delicious. And once I added the mix, I just stirred it around for a few moments to combine it. Then I added the chocolate chips and folded those in too. And then the last step here is just to spoon the mix into sprayed muffin tins, and then you're good to go. And then while I let that bake in the oven for 20 minutes, I decided to move on to my last activity, watercoloring. For me, a big part of self-care means expressing my creativity. So whether that's through photography, embroidery, watercoloring, or something like that, I find it really important to integrate into my life. And watercoloring is something that I actually just picked up a few months ago, but I've quickly become obsessed with it. I find it so fun mixing the paint colors together, watching the way water interacts with the paint, and creating some beautiful designs. And I like to keep all of my art supplies in this one bag so that it's easily accessible, portable, and it makes me want to actually get it out more often. And I just used a past palette with some fall colors already on it as the base for this palette. Then I got started on a watercoloring piece that incorporated some fun fall elements and designs. Like I mentioned, watercoloring is something that I only picked up in the past few months really, so I'm still very much in an experimental phase with it and have a lot of fun trying different things. Whether that's playing with color, trying new shapes, it all feels like a whole new world to me. And then after about 20 minutes, my alarm went off saying that my muffins were ready to come out of the oven, so I got them out and let them cool on the counter for a few moments. Once they'd cooled off, I got one out to have as a snack, and I brought it back to munch on while I colored. Just like a cozy tea, I love how freshly made baked goods really can kind of warm the soul. And then continuing on with my watercoloring piece, I continued to fill in and add life to the pencil outline that I'd created initially. While I'll often completely disregard the lines that I created once I start painting, I do like penciling things in initially just to give a bit of a general guide so that I can know what I'm trying to accomplish while painting. And then on this occasion, I just spent the rest of my day finishing my muffin and painting away. While obviously we don't always have time for fun activities like this, every once in a while I love scheduling in an afternoon where I can get creative, get cozy, and recharge. I hope you guys enjoyed this video though, and if you did, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more simple and intentional living videos coming at you twice a week. Also, I'd love it if you followed me on Instagram as well. I'm just at ashlynne.eaton on there. That's everything for today's video though, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.